It wasn't a place I expected to find a sermon, but there it was, right on the last page of a 2005 issue of Sports Illustrated. I never expected to find a sermon there, but I have saved this article in my files for 20 or more years now. You see, back then, every week, on the last page of the magazine, there was an article by Rick Riley, a commentary, an opinion page, an article that was usually a bit lighthearted, sometimes funny, and on occasion even a bit naughty and irreverent. And sometimes when I read his articles, I laughed out loud. Other times, I found them incredibly insightful. He doesn't write these articles any longer and has moved on to writing books and other things. But most of what he does is take sports stories and seek perspective. Sometimes he reaches even deeper and touches our lives. That was the case with that article that I saw in 2005 and saved ever since. The title was, "It's Not Easy Being Santa." He had decided that he wanted to learn what children thought about pro athletes and the scandals that seemed to be rampant throughout the sporting world. But the thought came to him that children probably wouldn't be honest with an adult. But if he were Santa, kids will say anything to Santa. So he borrowed a Santa suit, got a trunk full of small toys, and headed out to spend a couple of hours at 3 boys and girls clubs in downtown Denver. He wrote, "The clubs were all in poor sections of the city. At each club, I was given a room and about 70 squirming kids ages 6 to 10. And right away, I learned something. I make a lousy Santa." "Who are you?" one girl asked. "Since when does Santa drive a sedan?" a boy said suspiciously. One kid wanted to know how old I was. "Just turned 1,310, I said. He went frisbee-eyed. I said, "I know, I don't look that old." "No, you do," he said. I kept trying to ask my state of sports questions, but I might as well have been asking about pork belly futures. Not one of them knew about any of the scandals in sports. In fact, if I were running baseball, I'd be worried. Not one kid had a favorite baseball player. Not one of them wanted a bat or a glove. Few of them even had favorite pros in any sport. The athletes the kids most wanted to spend time with were their dads. "Could you bring me a fishing pole so my daddy will take me fishing with him?" one little girl asked. Another wanted a soccer ball because I think my dad would play soccer with me then. I kept trying to hit them with survey questions like, "Do you view athletes as role models?" And they kept hitting me with real life. "Santa, for Christmas, could you make the bill collectors stop coming?" one boy said. "It makes my mom cry." A little girl said, "Santa, could you bring us a new house? The one we have now leaks all the time." Lots of kids wanted hats and shoes and coats. "I want clothes," said one boy. "What kind?" "The warm kind," he said. Another kid wanted to be an NBA star and make $1 million. "What would you spend it on?" I asked. "Doctors," she said, "for my cousin. She's 4 and she has cancer." I told one 7-year-old boy, "Last year I came by and you were still awake, So I had to go do Dallas first and then until you fell asleep. So this year, I want you to go right to sleep. And he said, "That's not true, Santa. Last year, you forgot my house." I learned nothing new about sports, but plenty about how spoiled my life was, how Scroogish my spirit, how narrow my vision. One somber 8-year-old girl was making her first visit to the club. She'd been sent from another state to live with her uncles because there were issues at home. She looked as if somebody had just sat on her birthday cake. "What can Santa make you this Christmas?" I asked her. She turned and looked at me with huge, hopeful eyes. "Happy?" she asked. John wrote, "From his fullness we have received grace upon grace." Don't you see, Christmas isn't about a quiet, serene, star-filled night. No, Christmas is action. Christmas is God's action of grace and love and mercy and hope given for you. Christmas is God seeking, sending, serving, and saving. This birth changes things. This birth changes us. From his fullness, we have received grace upon grace. Christmas is God's action for us, and having received, God calls us to give. As Jesus comes to us, we are sent to those so easily overlooked and forgotten. Christmas is a verb. Go now. Notice. Care. Reach out. Act. Live Christmas. Amen.